Welcome to Baseball Seasons 1986. Expect the unexpected.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
As the 1986 baseball season dawned, outside Shea Stadium in Flushing, New York, there was a sense of hope unlike any before it in New York Mets history.
Coming into 86, we finally realized that we had the team to go all the way.
After coming up just short in 85, the Mets came into 86 loaded with confidence.
But that's a great pitch for him. Shoot. That's all you need right there.
The team's foundation was in its starting pitching, and 4 hurlers who each brought their own style to the mound.
What do you think you are capable of doing? I think I'm capable of winning.
The staff was anchored by third-year phenom Dwight Gooden.
Good fastball blows Sandberg right out of it.
While another former Rookie of the Year, Darryl Strawberry, powered the offense.
Swung on, that's the ball game!
I knew if they stayed healthy, these guys are going to put up some big numbers.
Davey Johnson was the team's manager.
Dave was from Texas, a real cocky guy. His personality really filtered down to the team.
They were loaded, and Davey saw that. And in his first team meeting, he says, "This is our year. We are going to win this year. I absolutely guarantee it."
But there were other teams with eyes on a title as well, including talent-packed teams in Houston, California, and Boston.
Well, the Boston Red Sox, you know, they did it by good pitching, good hitting, great defense.
I could go through the lineup. I mean, Gedman was behind the plate. Billy Buck was at first.
Wade Boggs.
Oh, do it, Shaq Daddy!
My biggest pain in the neck, Marty Barrett at second base.
Jim Rice. He was just the guy that you worried about.
Have a chance at 30 home runs or maybe 20 home runs or whatever the good Lord let me have.
They have this great young pitcher named Roger Clemens.
Clemens gets the side.
Clemens really just, exploded that year.
Oh, he was just immense out there.
When you have a pitcher like Roger Clemens, you know you're going to win every 5th day.
We had a pitching duel in April against Seattle.
Never has there been this excitement in the last couple of years here.
It was almost like a no-hitter. You just didn't want to say anything to him. You didn't want to approach him on anything. You just wanted to let him do his thing.
2 more strikeouts for Clemens. He's got 5.
He was just overpowering. Balls exploding.
Number 15 for Clemens.
The Seattle Mariner ball club, they were swinging at everything.
19 for Roger Clemens.
Yours truly hit a 3-run homer in the 7th, put us ahead.
Deep, gone! It's a home run! 3-run homer for Evans. The Red Sox lead 3-1.
And once Evans provided the lead, Clemens was poised to make history.
0-2. A new record! 20 strikeouts in a game. What a performance.
That kind of started us going. That gave us some momentum right there.
And there's a blast to the left center field alley. And that will do it.
It had been 67 years since the Sox's last title, but this team seemed different, giving hope to its long-suffering fans.
Well, I think if you were a Boston fan in 86, every game you watched was like this.
And it hits him. This game is over.
Been through it in 800 different seasons where you thought they were going to be good, and you kind of learned to watch a game with your hands up.
A balk has been called, and Evans comes home. Another impossible win for Boston.
And I think slowly the Red Sox fan was able to kind of open his hands a little bit and look.
Dwight Evans walks. A winning run comes in, and the Red Sox take it 10-9. They're winning every which way.
What a game, what a game. I'm glad for the fans that stayed and watched this game. You got a feeling that something special is here. There's something special going on here.
Their flame-throwing ace won his first 14 decisions, and as the rest of the team heated up, Boston took over first for good in mid-May.
The Red Sox hold on and win an almost impossible ball game.
Meanwhile, all around the league, youth was being served, courtesy of a tremendous onslaught of rookies.
1986 was probably the greatest rookie crop in the last 30, 40 years.
Out of here. Home run Joyner.
I got off to a great start, an incredible start, a fascinating start.
Going through the rookies, wow. I mean, it was a killer year.
Palmeiro, Bonds, Maddox, Larkin, Canseco. The rookie class of 86 would eventually win 15 Cy Young and MVP awards.
Bo was amazing. He was just gifted beyond any athlete I've ever seen.
If you combine the electricity of the Mets and the Red Sox, and you throw in all this new young talent, just a brilliant year for baseball.
The promise of the Mets' 1986 season was put to an early test in St. Louis against New York's arch rivals, the Cardinals.
We needed to beat the Cardinals. That's the bottom line. We didn't beat them the year before.
Swinging a fly ball to short right field. Mets, a winner! A winner! And the Cardinals beat the Mets.
We needed to prove to them that, this year, we were going to be the team to beat. We came in and we swept the Cardinals that series.
The game is over. The Mets have won the ball game.
We knew we had to make a statement early. I think Wally Backman made comments about it, but quietly.
We're on downstairs by the clubhouse. We got on the elevator, and Wally Backman gets on the elevator with us. And the doors start to close. And there's an entrance to the left from the manager's office that the Cardinals players would use. And as the doors start to close, Wally pushes the door back. And Wally looks out and says,
"It's over.
Don't let us get too far ahead."
But from there, the Mets did take off. They'd win 108 games in all, leaving the Cards and the rest of the NL East far behind.
They struggled mightily at the first couple months, and we were strong and kind of put it away early in the season.
Swung a hot run, slam, home run. That's the ball game. And the Mets have won 7 in a row.
The New York Mets were just an all-time great team. Basically lapped the field by the time they even got to May and June.
That team was remarkable.
Look at Hernandez. Woo!
We had some real characters and we had some personalities. I think that's what made us go on to be successful that year.
Hello, this is Roger McDowell. This is my assistant, Howard Johnson.
Hi. We had a guy named Roger McDowell who was a relief pitcher, but who could have been a stand-up comic.
On this episode, we'll introduce you to the wonderful world of puckball.
Roger McDowell was the team prankster. Him and Howard Johnson would give people hot foot.
Or the perpetrator.
Yes.
The perpetrator.
Poor Bill Robinson at first base during the, I think they must have given him like about 9 different hot foots.
That's amazing. How does he do it?
It was a loose, crazy bunch of guys. Nobody took themselves seriously, but had fun. And I think that was what made the team a special team.
The loose, fun-loving Mets were great, and they knew it. With a big city arrogance that endeared them to New York, but also made them despised by the rest of baseball.
Something about the team, because it captured the personality of New York. I think everybody in New York could identify with somebody on the 86 team.
New York in 86 was gritty, and it was dirty, and it was sort of disgusting, and there was litter everywhere. We did not have high expectations of our baseball team. We liked the Mets. We could relate with the Mets. The Mets were gritty. They didn't even have cool uniforms. Their uniforms were sort of frumpy looking, and they did the stupid video, "Let's go Mets go. Do it. Let's go Mets." And that was just kind of who we were.
There were no choir boys on our team then. There weren't many choir boys there. Nothing against choir boys, but
there weren't many goody two-shoes on the 86 Mets. This was not a team of guys going home, reading their Bibles, and watching Happy Days.
Just go back and look at the headlines of the New York Mets at 86. They were crazy as ever.
Mets got in 4 fights that year, 4 on-field brawls.
Bingo. Ray Knight is a tough guy. It's basically been a free-for-all. Yes, sir. It was no contest.
That's what made us who we were.
That's the kind of team they were, just nasty and down in the dirt. These guys were fighters.
One more time.
They'd all go out together, they'd drink together, they'd party together.
Fighting here and getting arrested, the group of guys got arrested in Houston.
Across the board debauchery, and it worked for them. That's what made them great.
That's what got us to the top, is our swagger and arrogance about ourselves. There was no question that everybody hated us, but we loved it. We enjoyed it. I think we got off on it as a team, as a group.
They're spreading the news that they are right now the dominant team in this game.
it was so important to us to know when we stepped between the lines, it was over.
The Mets weren't the only thing colorful about the 1986 season. In fact, 86 came right at the peak of everything that was, well, distinct about 1980s baseball.
The 80s were marked largely by softball uniforms.
I remember the one that was really specifically ugly with the Houston Astros. They had those different colored shirts.
The orange and the yellow and all the different stripes. Thank God I didn't have to wear that uniform.
The uniforms of Padres had that brown and yellow. That was wrong.
I don't know what person would look at that and say, yeah, that looks good. Let's put it on some players. Send them out there in front of 50,000 people to wear it.
And then there were the ballparks, spacious, usually artificially surfaced, and generally lacking in character.
The ballparks, they all look the same because they were all multi-purpose.
They were referred to as cement jungles, big, not real warm environments.
We don't see the outside of a ballpark, so we don't know how ugly they are. The only thing I would have changed about anything in that era was the AstroTurf.
Turf had been making its way into ballparks since the 60s, and many teams used the carpet to their advantage by focusing on speed.
In 1986 was more of a running game. You had to do the little things to create runs, probably more in the National League where Vince Coleman was.
Coleman had stolen 110 bases as a rookie in 1985, and in 86, Vincent Van Gogh paced the cards again.
We thrived on AstroTurf. It was like giving us an extra step.
There you go. Don't even throw it. It's useless.
With my no fear concept that I could steal bases anytime I was getting home, it's like guarding Michael Jordan one-on-one. You can't stop me.
Number 100 for Coleman.
Coleman would end up with 107 steals in 86, one of several notable marks on the base paths and beyond.
Out of all the things people remember about me, that's not one of them. Stealing 5 bases in a game.
You better watch him now. He may go to third win again. And Will Minkus got a good thing going there tonight.
Bob had a game in which he became one of the few players to hit 4 homers in one contest, and we lost a game.
To deep left field, has hit another one. He's hit. It is his 3rd straight home run. No doubt about it.
And our kangaroo court fined him later in the week because if you hit 4 homers in a contest and can't win, then you simply can't carry the club.
Well, he's a good player, isn't he?
I wanted to get the 3,000 strikeouts only because there's only a handful of guys at that time that struck out 3,000 or more.
He struck him out. And there's number 3,000 for Bert Blyleven.
Don was one of my first personal accomplishments that I was around that I really appreciated.
Wayne, did he go around?
Sutton's one of those guys you kind of appreciate as you get older. You look back at his career, how incredibly hard it is to win 300 games, and how valuable this guy was as a teammate. And you saw that with the Angels.
The Angels featured Sutton and a 40-year-old Reggie Jackson and took over first for good in the AL West in early July.
I think Angel fans became increasingly confident when they saw that their team was really good. They had guys who had been involved in this kind of thing before and knew how to win.
Back-to-back homers by the 2 veterans, Jackson and the Sensei.
You looked up and down that lineup. They had all-stars at almost every position.
Bob Boone behind the plate. You had Doug the Sensei over there. You had Brian Downey.
Back to the wall. This ball is gone.
Reggie Jackson and Bobby Grich.
It was a veteran team, but the young kids are the ones that really made the difference in that ball club.
Kids including first baseman Wally Joyner, one of several rookies continuing to make an impression all around the league in 86.
Well, I think that season surprised everybody, including myself.
A young kid who has a flair for the dramatic in his rookie season.
After 40 games in the big leagues, I had 17 home runs.
Long drive to right field. No doubt about that one.
He is now tied for the American League lead in round number 2.
And as the Midsummer Classic in Houston approached, it became apparent Joyner's power and popularity would make him an historic member of the All-Star team.
The first rookie ever elected to the All-Star game starting lineup for the California Angels, number 21, Wally Joyner.
But the All-Star focus was on the pitching matchup. The Mets' Dwight Gooden against red-hot Roger Clemens.
Good fastball. Strike 3. Clemens has retired the 5-man he's faced.
and the hometown hero would earn the win and the game's MVP award.
The MVP is Roger Clemens, who grew up here in Houston.
And when the second half began, the Astros picked up where Clemens had left off in Houston.
So the Astros win a big one.
When you look back on the 86 season, I think the second half, it all came together. We felt like we were one of the best teams in baseball.
And the Astros will win the game 7-6.
Houston took 3 of 4 from the Mets right after the break, jump-starting a run that showed the Stros were also a team to be reckoned with.
I think we kind of just proved things to ourselves that we can do anything we want. And again, I think everything goes back to the starting pitching, and our rotation was phenomenal.
Anchored by the unhittable split-fingered fastball of Mike Scott and the ageless fireballing of Nolan Ryan, the Stros team ERA ranked just behind the Mets.
He got it. Strikeout number 10 for Nolan Ryan.
And as Houston approached the division title, pitching took center stage.
Those back-to-back starting efforts were as good as I've ever seen anywhere, anytime.
First, Jim DeShays crowned a fine rookie season with a record-breaking first trip through the Dodger lineup.
He's got 7. He's working on 8 in a row to get this ball game underway. Every player is up on the railing, applauding along with the crowd.
Watching him go out there and go through the first 8 was an incredible game.
But DeShays proved to be only an opening act for what came 2 days later.
And the crowd is about 38,000. They're all pumped up and ready to go.
Mike Scott, every time he went out in 86, was capable of throwing a no-hitter.
Strike 3. What a game Mike Scott is throwing on clincher day.
His stuff was that good. His splitter, his fastball.
Oh, boy, what drama, Gene.
Alan Ashby came out and told me, he goes, you know, we're going to win this thing, but just try to throw a no-hitter.
Swing and a bouncer. This could be it. Davis runs to the bag. Game is over. No-hitter. Astros win the championship. What a way to do it.
We just really played well down the stretch. We had momentum going into the playoffs. There was, no reason to think that we couldn't win.
And the Astros are the National League's champions of the West. Holy Toledo!
And so we are ready to play ball. The 1986 National League Championship Series.
You do know if you go to the playoffs that it really, whoever's hot wins. You run into some good pitching or hot hitting and anything can happen.
And in Game 1, the Astros had the hottest pitcher in baseball on the mound.
Mike Scott was that dominant, and he was in the Mets' heads. The Mets were all convinced that he was scuffing the baseball.
Gary Carter has been making most of the noise about Mike Scott scuffing the ball. Now Gary Carter wants him to look at the ball, and the controversy has already started.
It didn't bother me. I'd heard it early in the year. I heard it then. I don't think it hurt me. It probably helped.
Swung on and missed, strike 3. So Mike Scott strikes out 2 of the 4 Mets he faces.
Regardless of what everybody was saying, he was cutting the ball, he was doing this.
Struck him out.
Whatever it was, he was beating us. And that's the bottom line, and you have to accept that.
He threw this nasty, nasty splitter. Boom, gone.
The split finger fastball. Now watch it drop. Well, this pitch is just unhittable.
Unhittable and untouchable. And the mighty Mets were doomed in Game 1.
Struck him out. That's strikeout 14. It ties the National League Championship Series record. The Houston Astros have defeated the New York Mets by a score of 1-0.
After the Mets evened the series in Game 2, play shifted to New York. Though in Game 3 at Shea Stadium, the Mets found themselves trailing again in the 6th.
I remember we were down 4-1. I hit a 3-run homer to tie the game off of Bob Knepper.
It's deep to right field, way back, going, gone, home run! The score is tied.
But Houston would pull ahead again. In the 9th, down 1, the Mets got the tying run on with an unlikely source of power at the plate.
Lenny Dykstra gets up there, and he's completely unintimidated. He was never afraid of a big moment.
It is fairly deep. It's way back by the wall. It's a home run! A home run! The Mets win ball game! Len Dykstra hit a home run! This ball game is over!
In Game 4, though, Mike Scott returned to the mound and silenced the Mets' bats once more, tossing another complete game to even the series again.
Right now, Scott pretty much has things his way as he strikes out Darryl Strawberry.
He was like really sticking it up our butt. And we didn't like that because we were arrogant, we were cocky, and nobody's supposed to do this to us. But actually, Mike Scott was doing it to us.
Game is over. Mike Scott has beaten the New York Mets for the second time. A 3-hitter tonight. The series is now even at 2 games apiece.
Game 5 was a pitching duel between old and young. The ageless Nolan Ryan against 21-year-old Dwight Gooden.
Strikes him out. Big curveball.
The Ryan Express continues to blow people away.
Ryan was brilliant for 9 innings, while Gooden countered with 10 strong frames of his own.
Ball strike 3.
And it was a 1-1 ball game when Gary Carter came to the plate in the 12th.
Up the middle, base hit. Blackman turns third. Hatcher's thrown, no play. And the Mets win the ball game in 12, 2-1. Game 6, with the Mets leading the Astros 3 games to 2.
There was no drop-off in drama for Game 6, with the Mets forced to treat it as a must-win, considering what loomed in a possible Game 7.
If the Mets lose today, decided advantage Astros because Mike Scott will be pitching tomorrow night.
We know if we had to see Game 7 against Mike Scott, there was no way we were going to beat him.
But down 3-0 in the 9th, it appeared the Mets' fate was sealed.
There was a ball in center field that was hit by Lenny Dykstra that we thought was going to be caught and ended up falling in.
He's in standing with a triple.
We had this kind of magic about us that whole year. There was no question about us being able to come back.
Mookie will score 3-2.
Before you know it, we were back in it.
Hernandez will score. Tie ball game.
The game remained tied until the Mets got a run in the 14th, and soon the Astros were just 2 outs from elimination.
High in the air, the curving, it is home run! Hatcher has homered the tie at the bottom of the 14th.
He got every bit of that ball, and it just was a matter of whether it's going to be fair. It was kind of one of those Carlton Fisk moments.
So Game 6 went on. In the 16th, the Mets rallied and again went ahead.
And it is 7-4 Mets.
But once more, the Astros refused to go away quietly.
Our season had been built off of the don't die attitude, and so we always felt like we could come back.
And they are still alive. It is 7-6. Orozco against Bass. The tying run is at second base.
Keith Hernandez went to the mound and he said, Jesse, if you get crazy and throw a fastball, I'm going to hit you. And he didn't. He stayed with his curveball.
Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! Struck him out! Struck him out! Mets win it! The Mets have won it! They're in the World Series!
That series was so tough for us. I think it just completely drained us mentally and physically going into the World Series.
This will surely go down as one of the memorable contests in championship play.
In 1986, the Angels and Red Sox combined for 187 regular season wins. But when October comes, everyone returns to 0.
Fenway Park, and the site tonight of Game 1 of the 1986 American League Championship Series.
At its heart, the ALCS was about numbers, like 1918, the last time Boston had won a World Series.
Because the Red Sox had already established that they couldn't win a World Series for 68 years. I think around the country, people were fascinated. Well, can they get over the hump this time?
Meanwhile, for the Angels and their skipper, the number of note was 25.
Gene Mauch, in his 25th season of managing, looking for his first World Championship.
I'd like this team to win this championship more than I'd like to eat when I'm hungry.
We felt very confident. We were on a roll. We were playing very well. And we had a closer that dominated the season.
Donnie Moore is the stopper for the Angels. He is sound
He is one of the most superlative relief pitchers in the game.
You know, he threw the stuff that just fell off the table. You know, it's very, very hard to hit. And when he brought Donnie Moore into a game, if you were Gene Mauch, you thought this game is over.
We knew it was going to be a battle.
Roger Clemens, the best pitcher in baseball, he'll work tonight.
We just wanted to win one game in Fenway and go back to our home field where we played very well.
The Angels would get their split in Boston, thanks in large part to 4 hits, 2 runs, and 2 RBIs from Joyner.
A drive to deep right field. Wally Worrell has tied it at 2.
And in Game 3, the red-hot rookie continued to spark his team until a freak injury derailed him.
During Game 3, there was a play at home plate where I eluded a tag from Rich Gedman. I didn't know that I had contracted staph infection in my shin. In that play at home plate, I opened up that pocket of staph. So I went to the hospital and I missed Game 4.
But without Joyner, the Angels stayed hot with a dramatic 9th inning comeback in Game 4, followed by more heroics in extra innings.
Ripped into left field down the line for a base hit. Narron around third, coming in, and the Angels go up 3 games to 1. What a great series.
You know, being down 3-1 in that series and at their ballpark, we knew that there was no tomorrow. We had heard that they had not packed to go back to Boston and that they felt that they had the series wrapped up.
As the confident Angels looked to close out the series, their star rookie could only watch.
What has it been like for you to watch this incredibly emotional series from a hospital room?
I'm hopeless and helpless and I can't do anything, so I just hope for the best.
It was devastating. It really was.
The Angels lead 5-2 as we go to the top of the 9th inning.
The night before, the Red Sox had blown a 3-run lead in the 9th. Now, just 3 outs away from the end of their season, they were trying to erase the same deficit.
She's gone! And it's 5-4!
With the pennant just an out away, the Angels called for their all-star closer. 53 times over the past 2 seasons, Donnie Moore had saved California victories. Now the team needed one more.
I'm standing at the top step in the dugout, Gene Mauch to my left, and Bill Buckner is in the on-deck circle, former teammate of mine and a friend. Buckner caught my eye and mouthed, "Good luck."
Donnie Moore out of the bullpen to face Dave Henderson.
I was in one of the post-surgery rooms.
This has been a wonderful game.
My wife was next to me. She was about ready to celebrate.
1-2.
2 strikes.
Here we go.
2 outs.
It's just a matter of minutes.
He's going to go with his fastball or his forkball.
Boom, here's the tumbling forkball.
To left field and deep.
He was 2 steps out of the box, and he probably jumped about 3 or 4 feet in the air.
Down he goes back, and it's gone!
I can remember all of these sirens went off in the post-surgery ward. And so a nurse came in, and I asked her, I said, what were all those alarms that were going off? And she said, oh, it was all the patients giving themselves another shot of morphine.
Unbelievable!
Before that ball was hit, you couldn't hear yourself think.
Astonishing!
After that home run, you could hear a pin drop.
You're looking at one for the ages here.
I sat with Bob Boone on the plane as we flew back to Boston. And I remember Bob saying to me, "I'm scared." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Sometimes when the air goes out of the balloon, you can't pump it back up."
Pitch is a curve into deep left field, and 7-0 Boston.
It was really not a contest for us.
In games 6 and 7, the Sox outscored the Angels 18-5. Finishing one of the most improbable comebacks in postseason history.
And when they beat the Angels in the ALCS, I think that sort of curse of the Bambino idea was actually fading. And they go, wow, we're not the team that choked here.
I wanted it. I wanted it real bad.
We were very, very confident.
The work starts now.
And felt good going into the World Series.
We ready. We ready. We ready. We feel good. We ready.
Following 2 spectacular league championship series, The 1986 World Series pitted a pair of teams that both saw a title as their destiny. And on a cold Saturday night in October, Shea Stadium was electric as Game 1 got underway.
A lot of Red Sox fans, I think, are pinching themselves right now. They can't believe tonight is finally here.
We just felt, that we were going to win that World Series, whether it was in 4 games or 5 or 6.
And for the New York Mets, winners of 108 games during the regular year, they felt they'd be in the World Series since the first day of spring training.
Going into the series, we thought our pitching was going to be the thing that really carried us through, that we had the better pitching.
The pitchers for the Red Sox, 28-year-old left-hander Bruce Hurst. For the Mets, the 26-year-old Yaley right-hander Ron Darling. Wally Backman, however, opens on the bench. The right-handed hitting Tim Tuffle will be the second baseman tonight for the Mets.
The two starters matched zeros in a scoreless pitcher's duel into the top of the 7th. But then the ball found Tim Tuffle.
Ground ball right through Tuffle. Here comes Rice around third to throw by Strawberry. He's in there, and Tuffle was fooled by the bounce.
Tuffle's error would result in the game's only run. And just like that, the Sox had an early series lead.
Got him, and the Red Sox have beaten the Mets in Game 1, 1-0.
Through the first 7 games of the postseason, the Mets were hitting just 184 as a team. And things wouldn't get any easier for them the next night against the American League MVP and Cy Young Award winner. But the Mets had an ace of their own, Dwight Gooden, looking to get New York even in an All-Star Game rematch.
That's a classic matchup.
Roger Clemens and Dwight Gooden.
Both guys were young and upcoming, dominant pitchers.
It's the dream matchup.
Well, it didn't turn out to be the type of game that everybody thought it would be.
A towering smash into left center. Gone.
Doc didn't pitch exceptionally well.
And there's a drive into deep left field. It's going to go on the pavilion top. And Dwight Gooden is not good enough tonight. It is 6-2 Boston.
Nobody had actually come into our place and beat us like they did the first 2 ball games.
And the Red Sox, a 3-1 underdog team, have swept 2 in New York.
Coming back to Fenway, we had a lot of confidence going.
They head up to Boston, and Davey Johnson tells the team on the plane, guys, do whatever you want today, you're taking the day off. And it was a very, very key read on the mood of that team.
He said, we haven't played well. Just come to the ballpark tomorrow ready to play. And I think it was the greatest meeting that he could have had.
A lot of guys credit Davey Johnson in that singular decision with turning that World Series around.
Also on the Mets side, a man who'd won 18 games during the regular season. Left-hander Bob Ojeda. In a must-win game against his former team, Ojeda shut down the Sox in Fenway from the outset.
Right on the outside corner.
On the hill for the Sox, Dennis Oil Can Boyd, equipped with a colorful nickname and personality.
Oil Can was cocky. He was arrogant. He talked a lot of trash.
Overall, I think here in this park, I could master those guys.
He said he was going to go out there and shove it down the Mets' throats.
Leading off to the bat, Lenny Dykstra.
It was a really big miscalculation on Oil Can's part. It's like going up to a lion and giving him a piece of meat. Dykstra went out there and set the tone with a home run, and they just beat the tar out of Oil Can Boyd.
Dykstra also came back with another big home run Game 4 that actually went off the end of my glove.
High fly ball into pretty deep right field.
I went back and I jumped as high as I could jump, but my back hit the fence, so it stopped me from going any further, and the ball just went right off the tip of my glove.
He can't get it. And what a picture Evans paints in right field.
Dykstra was just one Met pouring it on in an explosion of offense.
She is gone. Gary Carter's second home run tonight, and it is 6-0 New York.
2 wins in 3 games got the Mets back into the series and guaranteed them a return trip to Shea.
We went down there and played well, and we allowed ourselves to, put ourselves in a position to get back in it.
It will be noisy here at Shea on Saturday night, and that's one of the many reasons. An unexpected guest.
Game 6 in '86 began with the bizarre before giving way to the expected.
It's a brand new ball game.
A classic elimination battle between the 2 best teams in the game. As the game went to extra innings, the drama mounted for both clubs. And soon, a figure familiar to Boston fans found himself playing hero again.
And a drive to left. Going back on it is Mookie Wilson, and this one is gone.
I got my nose in the keyboard, putting the final touches on a Dave Henderson column.
Henderson has done it again. 4-3 Red Sox.
He had delivered them in the playoffs. Now he had won the game with a home run in the top of the 10th. It was all set. They're going to win the first World Series in 68 years.
The Sox tacked on an insurance run and went to the bottom of the 10th with a 5-3 lead. 3 outs away from a title.
It's so quiet in New York, you can almost hear Boston.
I can see it in my mind's eye right now.
Rice coming over. 1 away.
We're at the bottom of the 10th inning in Shea Stadium, and on the scoreboard, it said, "Congratulations, the 1986 World Champion Boston Red Sox."
And the Mets are down to their last out.
And to read that, a little premature.
Calvin Schiraldi trying to finish off the Mets and the 1986 baseball season.
A season that at last appeared to be ending with the Red Sox celebrating.
Everybody sitting very quietly in that New York Mets dugout, hoping against hope that something will start to happen.
It didn't look good. And we felt as a team, was this going to go down the wrong way?
The Mets, who won 108 during the regular season, not enough.
I was at third. Harry Wendelstadt was the umpire at third, and he looked at me and said, "Hey, flip me your hat. I collect the hats from all third basemen and winning teams." I said, "Harry, it's not over yet. It's not over."
I remember looking at that Boston dugout, and those guys were on the top step, and they were already drinking their champagne, but you never know until the last out.
Bob Costas was in the Red Sox visiting clubhouse and had the stage set. Champagne was set and ready to be poured. And when I came to the plate, I just knew in my heart, I'm not going to be the last out.
Lined into left field, base hit for Carter, and the Mets are still alive.
And Kevin Mitchell will be the pinch hitter.
Curveball, and that's going to be hit to center, base hit. And now suddenly with 2 out in the 10th inning, the tying runs are aboard, and Ray Knight will be the batter.
Still not worried. We're 2 runs up.
To count no balls and 2 strikes.
Gets 0-2 on me, and I'm looking hard away, and he busts a fastball up and in on me.
And that's going to be hit into center field, base hit. Here comes Carter to score, and the tying run is at third in Kevin Mitchell.
I interviewed Bill Robinson before he passed, who was the first base coach for the Mets, and he told me something that I'll never forget. 2 outs in the 9th, Gary Carter gets to first base, and he says, "I was not going to make the last effing out of this World Series." Kevin Mitchell gets to first base and says, "I was not going to make the last effing out of this World Series." Ray Knight gets to first base. He says,
"Well, I'm not making the last out. It's going to be somebody else."
I don't know if you can factually will yourself to win a baseball game, but they came as close as anyone ever has.
And John McNamara goes to the mound.
We could not shut the door.
He wants Bob Stanley to pitch to Mookie Wilson.
All these guys in front of me have gotten hits, and now the whole end result rests on what I do.
Foul on.
If I strike out, I'm the GOAT of New York. If I get a hit, I'm the hero of New York.
Fouled away again.
He just barely ticked the ball.
Buddy Harrelson had just told me, "Mitch, be prepared for a ball in the dirt."
Let's have only 1 strike left. Gets away! Gets away! Here comes Mitchell! Here comes Mitchell! Tie game! Tie game! Unbelievable!
Wasn't that bad of a pitch.
He just reaches for the ball. Down goes Mookie. It kind of sailed inside.
Certainly catchable.
For the 3rd time tonight, the Mets have come from behind.
The best thing about baseball to me has always been that you can't run the clock out. As long as you have that last out, you have a chance.
3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it. You have seen an absolutely bizarre finish to Game 6 of the 1986 World Series.
I've never seen anything like this before in my life. These are the kind of things you should dream about it.
And the season's over.
and you come up with 3 to win, I mean, you're going in that's awesome.
They had it, but they didn't get it.
They were down to their final strike twice.
We're up 2 runs, 2 outs, 2 strikes. To this day, I've not looked at the highlight films. I can't. It hurts that much.
It'll be the most remarkable game for the Boston Red Sox, maybe in their history. But right now, I guarantee you, in the Red Sox clubhouse, there is not one word being spoken.
Amid the silence, there was unavoidably a question. Why was a hobbled Bill Buckner still in the field when the Red Sox needed the most important out in franchise history?
His knees were shot. He had no maneuverability. He couldn't charge in on the ball.
Bob, what is Billy Buckner doing in the game in the bottom of the 10th inning?
Defensively, if it was a case where Buckner couldn't get to the ball, then I would be subjected to a second guess.
And I don't think Billy Buckner, with his legs at that particular time, was going to beat Mookie Wilson to the bag.
Mookie's hauling down first base like crazy. So we know this is going to be a foot race. It's going to be close.
All the thoughts was to beat the pitcher there, and I thought I had a good chance of beating the pitcher, and I think Buckner saw that too, so maybe tried to rush a little bit.
He knew that he had a chance to beat Buckner to the bat.
And the Mets have won the most amazing game in their 25-year history.
Most remarkable ball game I've ever played in.
I can't imagine a more remarkable victory.
The Mets are not only alive, they are well, and they will play the Red Sox in Game 7.
One thing that a lot of folks forget, you got the Bill Buckner thing, and that was rather large, I think. But there was also a Game 7. They still had a chance to redeem themselves.
The 1986 baseball season comes down to this.
No, we weren't happy about what just happened, believe me.
But the rainout last night allows John McNamara to switch from Oil Can Boyd to the man who has been his postseason ace, left-hander Bruce Hurst.
Before the Mets rally in Game 6, Hurst had actually been voted Series MVP. Now, opposite Ron Darling, he had the chance to earn the award once more.
The 2 best pitchers of the series are going. It's going to be a great 7th game.
By the diving Santana, and it is 3-0 Boston.
Well, Game 7, the Red Sox were winning, and the Mets didn't care. There was zero panic with the Mets.
Fastball hitting to left center field, base hit, 3-2 Boston.
He said to us, we're going to win Game 7. There's no question about it.
And when the momentum again shifted to the Mets, Strawberry would provide the exclamation point.
High drive into deep right field. Evans back at the wall, gone.
My home run just gave us a little bit more breathing room.
The Mets 8, Red Sox 5, and they're 3 out from pulling the cord.
What we all probably felt inside is we don't want to do what they did.
And the Sox are down to their last strike.
They didn't finish.
And this crowd is really ready to reach the heavens now.
Obviously, we finished. We believed in it, no matter when nobody else believed in it.
The Mets have won the World Series. The dream has come true.
It doesn't get any better than this, Peter. This is what it's all about.
And now the crowd salutes them as they can say, truly, we are number 1.
And to watch them celebrate was kind of hard because of how far we came that year.
20 strikeouts in a game. What a performance.
And down he goes back, and it's gone.
It hurt.
It's been a great baseball season, Vin, and you have to think about the Houston Astros. You have to think about Gene Mark, the California Angels.
Hey, Boston, hold your head up. You gave it your best shot and came up a buck short. A buck short. A buck short.
It was all put on Buckner. And I felt bad for Bill and his family. And
He had played through injury in '86 to drive in over 100 runs, but he was also an easy target, and Bill Buckner quickly became the scorn of Red Sox Nation.
It kind of made him a joke, and I was very happy for him that the Red Sox won a couple of World Series. So I think it took any emphasis over the Red Sox continued blowing things off of him.
And in 2008, after a second Boston title in 4 years, reconciliation finally came.
They have a surprise. The guy's going to throw out the first ball opening day of 2008.
The Red Sox would never have won the 1986 American League pennant without him. Won't you please welcome back to Boston, number 6, Bill Buckner.
He got a standing ovation walking all the way in from left field until they got on the mound. Of course, Bill is crying like a baby.
Let him know that he is welcome always.
Threw a perfect strike to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest players to wear the Red Sox uniform. Thank you again, Bill Buckner.
It was almost like, all right, all's finally forgiven.
While Buckner was ultimately forgiven, Angels closer Donnie Moore never forgave himself.
You win, you lose, you move on, but some people take it personally. Donnie Moore, I think, took it all personally.
Moore was never the same pitcher, and in 1989, a year after his career ended, he committed suicide.
It was devastating to me. It was a sad, sad event. It truly affected me.
For the Mets, it appeared the 1986 championship would be the beginning of a dynasty. But instead, the magical season proved to be the only World Series title for one of the most talented and memorable teams of its generation.
You know, being honest about it, the troubles of Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry, when you build your team around two guys and then have all these personal troubles, it kills, it knocks the wind out of you.
I'm surprised we didn't win more titles. But we're too crazy.
It's a funny complaint to say, I wish we would have won more, but the 86 Mets could have won more.
The franchise hasn't won another title since. Perhaps why the 86 team is still so revered in New York.
We're here to honor a group of ball players that captivated New York City and dominated the baseball world.
It was so exciting.
We'd like to thank you for this great day of recognition.
It's like these fans, they never forget this team. They love this team.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 1986 World Champion New York Mets.
And as the legacy of the Mets lives on, so too do the memories of an unforgettable October of baseball.
I believe the entire 86 postseason was the best postseason ever.
And people would say, what a great World Series. And I said, how can you say that? They were baseball fans. Kind of rejuvenated their baseball and their lives again.
To me, it's baseball at its best. I don't think anything could top that magic.